pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby?
Here.
Councilmember Burkett?
Here.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Here.
Councilmember O'Mara?
Here.
Councilmember Dolan?
Here.
Councilmember Stanger?
Here.
Councilmember Quinn.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
I move for approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 7th, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The journal is approved. I move to suspend the rules in order for the presentation of a plaque and the gavel to former council chairman Kathleen Kelly Burkett in recognition of her dedication and service to the county council while she served as 2013 council chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The rules are suspended. Where is the- oh. Madam Ex-Chair.
Madam Ex-Chair, okay.
Thank you, Kathy, for everything that you did last year. I made a speech last week and you weren't here, but I.
Did you record it?
I should have.
We taped it.
We, take a picture.
We taped it.
Oh, we taped it.
Okay.
But I'd just like to say again, I sincerely appreciate your dedication and commitment this past year. I think Kathy deserves a standing ovation on the service that she provided this past year.
Oh, thank you. This is really an honor, and I am very delighted that I got to be the chairman. I'm also very delighted not to be the chairman. And so, thank you all very much for the plaque.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Oh, well, yeah, sure.
Well, thank you. I just want to publicly thank you. I know it was a trying year for you, and you handled it with dignity and grace, and I appreciate all that you've done, and look forward to better things this year.
Thank you.
Health and happiness for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And why, being so I had the mic just for a second, just want to acknowledge all the county departments, obviously the public works and police and everybody who, over the past couple of weeks with all their snow and weather, that they got a lot of great positive comments, and thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move. Thank you, Pat. We'll move on to, we have no bid openings this evening, so we move on to communications.
Madam Chair, there are no tax compromises or zoning matters this evening, so we'll move on to road and bridge matters. Under road and bridge matters, item number 1, 3rd District.
Receive, file, contract in an amount not to exceed $863,140. Be awarded to Pace Construction Company, the lowest responsive bidder, pending federal concurrence as recommended, and a copy of this report be sent to the interested parties.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Moving on to other communications, item number 1, all districts.
Receive and file, same motion for item number 2, and that will be the order.
Item number 3, 3rd and 7th Districts.
Receive and file.
So ordered.
Item number 4, 5th District.
Receive, file, and agreement be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order. Do we have any add-ons?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we have no add-ons. County executive duties, is there any reports?
Madam Chair, no report.
We have one report of special committee. The St. Louis County Council met as a committee of the whole on Tuesday, November 19th, 2013, for the purpose to consider a presentation by staff from the St. Louis County Department of Planning on the topic of St. Louis County's selection to participate in the AARP's network of age-friendly communities. I move that this report of the St. Louis County Council Committee of the Whole be received, filed, and adopted as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted. Okay, we move on to public forum. We have 14 speakers. And we ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes. The deputy clerk will alert you when your time is up. And at that point, we ask you to please bring your comments to a close. Our first speaker is Harold Carabell. And after Harold is Joe Passanisi.
Thank you. I brought my own timer because I tend to be prolix. My apologies in advance. Distinguished members of the council, I've been a bicycle commuter on and off for over 40 years and a religiously dedicated one for most of the past 2 decades. I'm also in the unique position of being on very good terms with many of the people from whom you've already heard on both sides of the bicycle component of the Complete Streets controversy. I am friends with Martin and Nick, and for 3 decades I've been Karen's partner and husband. I'm also the father of Eli, my youngest son. For the past several years, I've also designed and led interpretive bicycle tours of historic neighborhoods and other places of historic importance in the region for TrailNet. As a result, I've had the pleasure of getting to know on a personal basis many members of TrailNet's outstanding and highly dedicated staff, including Rhonda, who's here tonight. You've heard testimony already about the experience of 2 veteran bicycle commuters on the new, improved, and allegedly more bike-friendly Manchester Avenue in the city, west of Kings Highway. Although my wife had used Manchester for many years as a preferred route to Maplewood and other points west, the very first time that she rode in that bike lane, she barely avoided being right-hooked 3 times by motorists. My friend Susan Hertzberg was not nearly so fortunate. After almost 3 years of trouble-free commuting on Manchester, she was hit by a right-turning motorist. And with that incident, Susan became exhibit number 1 in exposing most of the hidden dangers of bike lanes, the near invisibility of bicyclists riding on the edge of the road, involvement in curb cut and intersection conflicts, an absence of room in which to maneuver for the bicyclist, and the inability of motorists to properly judge the speed of a bicyclist. Of all the major problems associated with bike lanes, only Doring was absent. If Complete Streets were to mean in the county what it so frequently meant in my city, then its implementation would be problematic indeed for bicyclists. This is a controversy of good intentions on all sides. Everyone whom I know, including Alderman Ogilvie, wants safer streets for bicyclists and more riders on those streets. But the genius is in the details, not in well-intentioned mission statements with which no one can disagree. What might the details of a complete street that avoids the hidden dangers of bike lanes, is cost-effective for taxpayers, and is even more welcoming for bicyclists look like? One part of the answer is right outside the front door of our building tonight. Instead of a conflict-ridden bike lane, there are shared lane markings known in the traffic engineer's lexicon as sharrows. Another indispensable part of this answer comes from Martin's good work in his hometown of Ferguson, where he successfully persuaded the city council to install not only sharrows but signage on South Florissant Road, Ferguson's main street. Bicyclists may use full lane, motorists change lanes to pass. And last but certainly not least, there needs to be a major emphasis on education. The county can't teach cycling savvy, for example, but it can mount a campaign with billboards and posters that inform and enlighten both bicyclists and motorists.
Bring
Motorists,
your comments to a close.
may I have 15 to 30 seconds? Thank you. Motorists, bicyclists are allowed full use of the lane. You must change lanes to pass. If you harass or otherwise threaten a bicyclist, you will face serious legal consequences. If you hit a bicyclist who is riding lawfully, you will face a huge fine as well. Bicyclists, you have the same rights to the road as do motorists. You also have the same responsibilities. You are obligated to follow the same laws. If you run red lights and stop signs, ride the wrong way, ride on the sidewalk in a central business district, or do not have proper illumination at night, you are breaking the law and you will be ticketed.
Mr. Carabell, you need to wrap it up.
5 seconds. Some friends have told me privately, and even stated publicly, that mine is a minority position, even among bicyclists. I have no idea if that's true or not, but I do know this: truth is not a numbers game. Thank you for letting me exceed the time limit.
Thank you. Mr. Passanisi? Jennifer Bird will be next. Bird.
County Executive, fellow council members, my name is Joe Passanisi. I'm a citizen of St. Louis County and lived in the Creve Coeur area. But also, I'm also here as a former planning engineer of the St. Louis County Department of Highways and Traffic, having worked for the County Highway Department for about 30 years. What I'd like to bring to your attention is maybe two aspects that you might consider putting in your bill. And they're much like roadway improvements that were improved under the bond issue that we had back 15, 20 years ago. And that is the roadway plan is constructed on a temporary basis. A cost estimate is made of that particular roadway, and there's a public hearing on that, just that one roadway, to see what the reaction is from the public. And the transparency comes from the presentations made by the Highway Department dealing with cost based on design in terms of bicycle paths or sidewalks or maybe even additional lanes for traffic. It's important that citizens hear the whole picture and have an opportunity to respond to the whole picture. And I'm suggesting that those two aspects be included in your bill. The importance of transparency through a public meeting and through presentations made about the cost, the design, the time in which it would be completed, so the benefit of the public can hear what county government is planning and what it will cost them in terms of funds for roadways, funds for sidewalks, and certainly funds for bicycle paths. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak here tonight, and I just ask you to consider those two aspects in your bill. Thank you.
Thank you. After Jennifer is Tony Pasosa.
Thank you for taking my comments once again. As you know, by now, I'm sure, I'm opposed to the Complete Streets plan. I have a lot of reasons. I've got a cost versus need issue. I know Mr. Dolan mentioned 2 weeks ago tonight that the numbers we're using are false, but I have yet to hear any numbers coming from this council that would change what I'm reading in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch at being $300 million estimated to cover just 15% of the county. So that would translate to about $1.9 billion with the B. I think that's an exorbitant amount of money for something that I don't really see a defined or real need. And of course, if those numbers are wrong, I'm asking you kindly to please provide those numbers, because I really would like to be accurate. And then as far as needing, I'm not really sure. We've got sidewalks and streets that seem to be in good order, pedestrian walkways, so I'm not really clear where there's an actual need. We just passed Prop P, which I fought for a sales tax that gives a tremendous amount of money to Great Rivers Greenway to do bike trails, and we do have a lot of bike trails, so again, I'm not understanding. We've got, it's my understanding, about 0.2, that's not 1%, 0.2% of the commuter population is commuter to work, to and from work on bicycles. So again, I'm not finding that there's a real need defined here. I do have a problem because I see potential property rights violations and potential eminent domain abuse. Section 1105.260 under the scope of Complete Streets applicability, and I believe that is on page 3, no, I'm sorry, page 2.
It states that, it is page 3, number 4 says, and I quote, "Privately constructed streets and parking lots shall adhere to this policy." I had asked last week if adding bike lanes to specific areas, not only we know that it'll reduce traffic lanes, but is it going to open the door for eminent domain abuse in order to accommodate all of that? So I have a problem with that. I think that's pretty clear. Also, section 1105.265, under implementation, section A4, it says propose revisions to zoning and subdivision codes and other applicable law to integrate, accommodate, and balance the needs of all users. Again, I'm wondering if you're maybe overstepping your boundaries. Now, I was happy to see that you had a meeting with the opposition to this proposal, but I am disappointed that it wasn't posted, so I didn't have any kind of notification to make myself available or every reasonable effort to do so, even though I asked if there were going to be other meetings, and I think I asked Mr. Dolan after a meeting 2 weeks ago. Okay, so I was disappointed, but not surprised. I need 30 seconds, please. Thank you. That in the Post-Dispatch, and I will quote, Post-Dispatch, Councilmember Steve Stenger emphasized that the amended legislation introduced in late November was never intended as the final word on complete streets. This scares me, that you can pass a bill and then change it after the fact. I think that's contempt of the people that you're supposed to represent. And they quoted Mr. Stenger as saying, "We always planned on changes to the bill." Why are we still voting on it if it's not finalized in some satisfactory way so we know exactly what we're getting and that we don't have another pass it to see what's in it type situation after the fact? Thank you.
Thank you. Jen, just for clarification, when I look at that clock and you had 42, is that what she went over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have 3 minutes from here on out. You have 3 minutes. We will tell you when your time is up, and when your time is up, your time is up. You cannot dictate to us that you need 30 seconds more or 45 seconds more. The 3 minutes is the rule. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tony Pizzosa. I'm an alderman from the city of Green Park. I'm also a candidate for county executive, and I'm here to oppose complete streets. And some of my reasoning is some of the same things that you've heard already, but my municipality is surrounded by some major streets, Lindbergh, Tesson Ferry, and then Union to the east. And this project, $300 million for only 15% of the roads, $1.6 billion for everything. I think that this legislation to be passed, and Councilman Dolan, you were quoted in the newspaper as saying that we need to rethink this, and Councilman Stanger, you were quoted as always plan to have changes to the bill. I can't see, as an elected official as you are, that you would try to pass legislation without knowing the final details of the plan. That's not fair to your constituency, and I think it's very arrogant to try to do so, especially when you plan meetings that are at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when most of your hardworking constituents that pay for everything that you're trying to do here are at work. I think this is related to special interests. I mean, who wrote this bill? There's no fiscal responsibility here. I think the taxpayers will be on the hook. If you look at what it says here, the headline here, fraud, haven't we had enough of that in St. Louis County? Have we not had enough of FBI investigations? Again, it's not fair to taxpayers. Why can we not have a fiscal note attached to this legislation so we know exactly how much it's going to cost us? Because it's not coming out of your pockets. If it is coming out of your pockets, let me know. It's coming out of our taxpayer dollars. And I think that it's not right and it's not safe. And what kind of message does that send to a company like Boeing when we're trying to narrow our streets, but in the same breath, we want them to come here? If we want businesses to come here, we need to make sure that we have open roads for commerce. That means truckers, delivery trucks, taxi cabs, and the like. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to make a comment. I think sometimes people do forget, even though we are elected officials, we are also taxpayers in this county. And I do kind of take offense when people take the assumption that we don't pay our taxes. That's just absolutely not true. So, thank you.
I also have a comment about we've had several comments about the 3 o'clock meetings, and we've been criticized for that. We've only had 2 meetings this year. I believe it was just 2 at 3 o'clock, and those were because of the scheduling for the holidays, which is, that we had no choice. So,
All the staff too is involved in it,
Right.
not just us.
right. Thank you. Nick Kassoff is the next speaker, and after Mr. Kassoff is Paul Wichalowski. I know I've messed that up, but you can correct us when you get here. Nick, go ahead.
After weeks of exposing the huge problems with the Complete Streets bill, I'm told there's a substitute bill number 2 in the hopper, and I've seen it. Looks like a step in the right direction. From the first reading, it seems like the new bill does make a little progress toward rectifying the safety, operational, and fiscal problems of Substitute Bill 1. Unfortunately, I just saw a draft of the bill yesterday. Now, I think we can all agree there's no emergency which requires that this bill be passed today. So I'm asking that somebody on this council stand up now and commit to regular order on this bill. That would ensure that the public has the normal 2 weeks to review the bill and discuss their concerns with the council. Since suspending the rules would require unanimous consent, any one of you can stand up for public accountability by not voting for suspending the rules on the substitute bill. Now, having reviewed the draft of the substitute bill, I already have a few concerns. Mainly the Peer Advisory Committee. While the purpose and authority of the committee has been blurred in Substitute Bill 2, it remains as an unprecedented and unnecessary statutory injection of private interests into important public decisions. There's nothing preventing TrailNet or anybody else from providing information to the Highway Department regarding their preferences for road development. But establishing an official body with a specially anointed mission to do that is courting trouble. I'm also concerned that the peer review committee is charged with benchmarking and performance monitoring. As I understand it, the Department of Highways and Traffic is already well equipped to do that and has an entire department dedicated to doing that sort of work. We should let them do their job rather than assigning it to outside special interests who I'm sure plan to be paid for their work if they're doing it. The Indianapolis ordinance on which this bill is supposedly based does not contain such a committee. Even the policy elements prescribed by the extremist group Smart Growth America do not include the peer review committee. The committee will be nothing but an opportunity for mischief, and of course, an opportunity for TrailNet, the only local Complete Streets consultant, to charge taxpayers for work which it will do for the committee. The peer review committee should be eliminated, and the responsibilities for Complete Streets, if this bill does pass, should rest solely with the Department of Highways and Traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. And after pause, Martin Payan.
Good evening, County Executive, members of the council. I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to read this.
Would you
so I can
pronounce
make
your last name?
Wojciechowski.
Thank you.
And I'm speaking tonight as president of the Missouri Bicycle and Pedestrian Federation. And our vision include the following: improving safety for all road users, creating a world-class bicycle and pedestrian network in Missouri, encouraging bicycling and walking, building a movement around bicycling and walking, including education, and seeking the funding to accomplish this vision. Complete Streets accommodates all users from motor vehicles, transit, bicyclists, pedestrians, and Missouri is a leader in that. Since 2012, we've got a total of 22 policies and ordinances throughout the state. So even the House and Senate of Missouri passed a resolution supporting Complete Streets policies at all levels of government. This was adopted in May of 2011. And as an engineer and planner with 30 years of experience with the Missouri Department of Transportation, City of Clayton, and consulting firms, I'm cognizant of costs associated with complete streets. But I also understand that engineering design of streets takes effective use of design guidelines such as the American Association of State Transportation Officials, Green Book, AASHTO, Bike and Ped guidelines, the METCD, Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and yes, even NACTO. But local standards such as St. Louis County standards are also part of this thing. And that in concert with public engagement, engaging discussions with stakeholders, and finding the best solution for the community is at the bottom of all this. Complete streets ranges from one block segments to arterial corridors, from freeway interchanges to neighborhood streets, or to integrating light rail transit, streetcars, bus, bicycle, and pedestrian design. This whole concept includes transportation planning, urban design, public outreach, traffic engineering, safety engineering, parking, land use, ADA considerations, and bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and transit integration. This isn't a new concept. Ice-T in 1991 presented an overall intermodal approach to highways and transit funding with collaborative planning requirements, giving significant additional powers to metropolitan planning organizations. And we call these great streets. So Complete Streets has been around for a while. Great Streets has been around in St. Louis for a while. And there's been several corridors worked on. So in St. Louis, we have traffic engineers and transportation engineers and great professionals in county government. They've got great tools. You've got a great staff. But I also encourage the county, you elected officials, in working with your staff to take your next step towards truly creating a vibrant community we call St. Louis County. Thank you.
Thank you. Warren Payan. After Mr. Payan is Carrie Casey.
Madam Chairman, council members, and county executive. First, my thanks to Councilman Dolan for meeting with me, Karen Carabell and Nick Kassoff recently. Despite our being strong opponents of his bill, while we met physically, unfortunately, there was no meeting of the minds, as witness his SP number 2 for Bill number 238. The bill has been downgraded from a catastrophe. Now it's merely terrible. It still pushes bike lanes, which are both dangerous and unnecessary. Cyclists, motorists, and taxpayers deserve better than a blind and single-minded promotion of trendy but dangerous bike lanes. Last Sunday's St. Louis Post-Dispatch story about the difficulties facing the Complete Streets bill featured Karen Carabell using her bicycle as she normally does for transportation on existing so-called incomplete roads. She described it as an uneventful, except for having a Post-Dispatch reporter and photographer along for the ride. I spent decades as a transportation cyclist and educator and can confirm her experience. This is a very nice picture of her, by the way. I don't know how many of you saw it. Did you see that? Lovely photo. And she's on a bike and just going about her business. She's going to Trader Joe's at the time. A friend of mine has described bike lanes as bike ghettos. When I first heard that, I thought it a bit extreme, but I'm warming to it. Bike lanes make it much harder for competent cyclists like me to control the lane on a multi-lane road, as Karen Carabell was doing as she cycled past the Galleria on her way to Trader Joe's last week. Novice cyclists will believe a bike lane makes on-road cycling safe. But that false sense of security leads to death or serious injury due to car-bike collisions with turning motorists, and from dooring when the bike lane is alongside on-street parking. Both of these problems exist on the newly restriped MoDOT Manchester Avenue Mo Route 100, following recommendations by Great Rivers Greenway and others in St. Louis City. The county has also failed to consider the cost of bike lanes. Much has been made of the construction cost, which could be as much as $2 billion, but bike lanes have higher maintenance requirements than traffic lanes. The Long Beach, California Bicycle Master Plan estimates maintenance costs of $2,000 a year per mile of bike lane. I've got a reference here. Adding bike lanes on each side to just 250 miles of road would cost the county $1 million a year in maintenance costs. Is the council prepared to divert $1 million from road maintenance in order to maintain dangerous bike lanes? If not, this bill should explicitly state that bike lanes are not a required element of complete streets as adopted by St. Louis County. Thanks very much. Oh, was I over time?
Just a few seconds.
Oh, right, good. Thank you. I thought I got it well under time. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Carrie Casey. And Carrie Casey, after Carrie is Daniel Johnson.
Good evening,
Damian Johnson.
members, and thank you. My name is Carrie Casey, and I'm here to support Complete Streets. I live in the DeMund neighborhood, and I work at Evans & Dixon, a law firm downtown. I have been a bike commuter for a good 20-plus years, about 22 years, I hate to say it. Riding my bike from right near Clayton all the way downtown at Evans & Dixon, and another law firm I work downtown. I have seen the evolution of cycling in St. Louis and more commuters out there. I have been hit by a truck while driving my bike home from work on Lindell Avenue where there's no bike lane. First of all, I don't think complete streets equals bike lanes, so that is sort of a misconception that we have to get out of our heads. Complete Streets is a plan. It's a plan for the future to make our community more livable and bring lots and lots of benefits. We want people to feel safe. We want drivers to realize that cyclists have a right to the road. Just because we have a right to the road doesn't mean we need a bike lane, nor does it mean the opposite, that we're not safer. I think it encourages people who aren't as cycling savvy as some of the people that have spoken today to get out and ride their bikes to work, to ride to the grocery store, to church, or around the community. It makes parents more willing to let their kids go out and ride their bikes just to get along, to go, up to the swimming pool or something. So this is about a vision. It's about health for the community. There was a mention of it being bad for Boeing, and I didn't understand that. So people can drive their cars and trucks to Boeing. To me, that analogy doesn't make sense. We're talking about a growth for the community to make this place more livable, more viable, and companies are going to want to come here if it's a better, thriving city. It's good for the whole. We have to get down and dirty with the details. Everyone knows that, but that's with any bill we pass. So let's take a hard look. Let's not pass it prematurely, but let's make sure it's something that we all agree on that's good for the community. It helps us get around. It's going to promote health. It's going to promote children getting off their fannies and riding to the grocery store or to church or to their communities. So I'm a big supporter, and like I say, I've been commuting for about 20 years on my bike, and I have been hit by a truck. I feel more safe in a bike lane, and I could get doored if there's a bike lane or not a bike lane. I could get hit by a car. It's about letting the drivers know you have a right to be on the road too, and drivers are more cognizant once they see that lane or a share lane. But in support of it, I say it's more than bike lanes, but it is a good thing on the whole for the community. And hopefully we can all look past these details and understand that's good for us all. So thank you for your time.
Madam Chair, could I, and this is strictly, it doesn't directly do with complete streets, it's just more curiosity on my part. What is your mileage? How far do you travel each day?
Well, okay, that's hard because I ride a lot for not just.
All right, just for
my to and from work.
Yes,
is
to
like
and from.
7.5 miles door to door.
Okay. And just curious, what did you do during the real bad weather? Did you still ride your bike, or?
On those days I did not, but I'll ride if it's really, really cold. I'll ride if it's really, really hot. If there's and that's basically because the slush, there's no room for you.
Okay. All right.
Honestly, I didn't go to work. I worked from home. So, I mean, to be quite frank. So, but it is, but I do ride day in and day out. And
Okay.
it's because, well, a lot of reasons, but it's the way I like to get to
Thank
work.
you for answering that.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Damian Johnson. After Damian is Ellen Byrne. Hello.
I'm just going to summarize my email I sent out to all the men and women on the board of all county council. I have been writing both in the city and the county for a variety of reasons, and I came to address the concerns. I hope the streets in the region will be friendly for for everyone, drivers, public transportation, depending on cyclists. I just want to also mention the St. Louis Post-Dispatch did mention the bike lanes on the Chippewa. I found that unnecessary because when you consider complete streets, you consider all the streets in the area. Cyclists, it's better for them to ride through the neighborhood. Car drivers have them ride on main streets, more lanes, it's better. And I also came up with 3 ideas. I think maybe if cyclists wanted, there could be a tax applied to some bikes when they go buy their bikes so they can pay for this and pay for the safety. I think there should be enforced the safety rules, particularly when they should be ticketed when they run the red light or when they ride on a bike wrong side of the street. And I also will call for more transparency. I think some ideas with this. If we have initiatives dealing with bike lanes and roads, maybe it should be in a stand-alone bill so we can debate it by itself. How on time, and just in response to what I've heard out there, when I visited the Netherlands, I saw streets where it was cars in the middle, you had bike lanes and then you had pedestrians on the sides, but then you didn't have parallel parking. That's one idea, but it may not be good for the whole county. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your suggestion. Ellen Byrne, and then after Ellen is Francis Hallisey.
Good evening. I live in University City. I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I want to strongly encourage the County Council to plan for our future and to pass, pass this complete street ordinance. And I ask you to do this for a few reasons. Mainly, we need our elected officials to help us plan for the future. We need you to raise the bar and talk about the kind of community we'd like to have and to improve the communities we do have. I think this talk of the money is a little bit of a smokescreen. At this point, we're talking about setting a concept, and so the time to start thinking about where and how to have access for biking and for walking and sidewalks is when new communities are being built, and that doesn't mean that you're having bike lanes on every street they're building, but that is a perspective. And in terms of an older community, I think people don't appreciate how road-centered we are. For instance, a block from my house at Del Mar in Big Bend, we have a corner, a very busy traffic corner, where at the same time the cars driving east on Del Mar get a green right turn arrow, the people crossing Big Bend get the green walking man. So you have people trying to cross the street while the cars are told to go. When I complained about this years ago, prior council, not you, we were told nobody died there, so we're not changing the way the lights are synced. That's the kind of thing that's not acceptable and the kind of thing that complete streets would change. The county just spent millions of dollars in street improvements and road improvements on Midland and did the craziest sort of curb cuts for pedestrians I've ever seen. I've never seen it done like this anywhere. To me, it was clearly done by people who aren't walkers because you wouldn't have to go around the corner and cross the street, and I see people out there, nobody is following what is done. Again, it has to do with a lack of awareness and education of folks that are making these improvements. If you have complete streets, you sit down in everything you do and understand how are the walkers going to get across the street? Where are the bus stops going to be? Every year we have people who die because they're walking in the street because we don't have enough sidewalks. And we have to figure out, there's a lot of negotiation to figure out the safe way to ride your bikes. I don't really have an opinion if it's a Sharrow, might be more appropriate in some places than others. But I think the other gentleman was just speaking about the fact it's also about education, about planning other routes so that bikers don't have to be on the most crowded streets if there's other ways to go. And let me close by saying, if we want to attract people and like Boeing and other businesses to live here, they want to know that these are viable communities, that other people will want to live here, and having safe streets, lots of bike lanes, a healthy community is really a big part of that package. So, thank you.
Thank you. Francis Hallisey and then Rhonda Smith. Smythe. Miss Smythe.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. Before I talk, I'd just like to say that 6 o'clock is a really inconvenient time to get up here, because I know a lot of people have parents who don't get off till like 5 o'clock, and getting to downtown Clayton is really ridiculous during the week. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about the Complete Streets program. I think it's a really big waste of a lot of tax dollars to make these bike lanes that I personally think are really unsafe. It gives a false sense of security when there's a painted line between the car and the bikes. And me, I'm a relatively new driver, and I think it drives me crazy when there's bikes right next to me. It's really nerve-wracking, and I just think it's a really big safety hazard, and I think that's not the way to try to make it safe. So that's all.
Thank you. Rhonda Smythe, and then after Rhonda's Matthew Makalowski. Gowski.
Good evening, council members. My name is Rhonda Smythe. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Manager over at TrailNet. I want to thank you again for the whole of the time that you spent on this issue and all of the perspectives that we've heard thus far. Tonight, I simply come to you with some facts. The first one being that TrailNet is a nonprofit. We raise every dime that we bring in the door and have been able to maintain a staff of 20 St. Louis residents, even through the economic downturn. The second is that the recent MoDOT Missouri on the Move sessions, they gave out a survey asking what the top priorities for each region were. The St. Louis district reported that, in order, their priorities were: number 1, structurally sound bridges and overpasses; 2, a robust public transit system; 3, safe spaces for bike riders; 4, smooth roads; and 5, improving highways. So that was a MoDOT survey asking their constituents what was important to them. The second fact I'd like to present is pulled from the 2013 National Association for Realtors survey showing buying preferences that support complete streets, showing that recent movers prefer the walkable community by 58%, that a neighborhood with a mix of houses, stores, and businesses that are easy to walk to is preferred over a neighborhood with houses that only require driving to stores and businesses. The survey also showed that there is a need for more safe routes for riding bikes to work and shopping. 48% of participants said that there was too few safe bike routes, compared to 41% who said that there was the right amount, leaving only a few to say that we didn't need them at all. The third fact I'd like to present is the AARP policy position, which states America needs streets designed to be safe and convenient for travel by automobile, foot, bicycle, and transit, regardless of age or ability. As the nation ages, complete streets planning presents an opportunity to increase the safety and availability of older adults' travel options. Fourth, in the St. Louis County Strategic Plan, it clearly delineates an investment in pedestrian and bicycle facilities to increase mobility, promote physical activity, and encourage social interaction for people of all ages and abilities. The U.S. DOT policy is to incorporate safe and convenient walking and bicycling facilities into transportation projects. The Federal Highways Administration policy is that bicycle and pedestrian ways shall be established in new construction and reconstruction projects in all urbanized areas unless one or more of the 3 following conditions are met. And I'll have to email that to you. The recent American Community Survey for St. Louis County shows that About 10,000 people take transit to work every day, about 7,000 walk to work, and about 1,000 bike to work. Complete Streets is looking at all those modes of transportations. It's not a solution for athletes who are able to keep themselves safe, who are willing and able to ride in traffic that is 35 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour, or 45 miles per hour. It's for everyone else, for people who have a hard time crossing the street, for kids walking to school.
Please wrap your comments up.
Thank you again for your time and support for this policy.
Thank you. After Matthew is Tom Sullivan.
My name is Matthew Wyczałkowski, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the Complete Streets legislation. I'm a resident of St. Louis City and have been for over a decade. After finishing my PhD in biomedical engineering at Washington University, I had the opportunity to move to a variety of cities. An important consideration was the quality of life. I'm an experienced cyclist. I rode as a kid, I raced in college, and commute by bike every day. And having the option to ride to work was a definite consideration when I chose to remain in St. Louis. I now work as a scientist at the Washington University School of Medicine. Cycling gives me exercise, clears my mind, saves money, and connects me with the community. I have many friends and coworkers who feel this way also. About a year ago, poorly planned construction along my daily bike ride created serious hazards for cyclists. That road, Tower Grove Avenue, is the busiest bicycle corridor in St. Louis. Sparked by frustration and a fear for my personal safety, I started the Safe TGA blog, that stands for Safe Tower Grove Avenue, to advocate for safer bicycle infrastructure and to encourage a dialogue with other cyclists. I have learned a lot about the state of cycling in St. Louis since, and I welcome you to visit the blog for more details. One thing I learned is that the overwhelming majority of cyclists I spoke to, and I've talked to many of them, believe just like me the bike lanes and other infrastructure make cycling safer and encourage people to ride more. My next door neighbor, for instance, started riding his bike to work only when bike lanes were installed on a stretch of Tower Grove Avenue. He told me he had never considered riding to work before those lanes gave him a place on the road. I also learned that there is a small but loud community of cyclists who oppose most, if not all, bike infrastructure. I'm a fair-minded person, and to learn more about their perspective, I attended the Cycling Savvy course taught by Karen Carabell, who I understand has testified here in the past. I found that the course is useful for novice riders and teaches basic urban cycling tactics. The course does not, however, provide any sort of guidance or vision for how to build roads which are safe for cyclists, any more than knowing how to drive makes you a civil engineer. I do have degrees in engineering and have tried to put them to use by writing on, photographing, and writing about new bicycle infrastructure being installed in St. Louis. Designing good infrastructure is hard, and my aim is to provide feedback to help make it better. I recognize some mistakes will be made now and again, but that is no reason to stop trying to make our roads safer for cyclists. The return on investment is simply too great. People have a real desire for alternatives to the car, to walk, ride their bike, to take public transit. I feel that way, and I know I'm not alone. All too often, though, we live in a built environment which makes anything but driving inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unsafe. Complete Streets recognizes that roads are not just for cars, and driving is not the only way to get around. It offers the prospect of real choices in how we travel and live. Complete Streets may not be perfect, but it is a step in the right direction. I urge you to support it. And I have some supplementary material.
I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you. Tom Sullivan.
I didn't speak last week, so do I get 6 minutes this week?
3 minutes.
Madam Chair and members of the council, it was recently reported the Metro Transit Agency is working to address overcrowding on the Grand Avenue bus line and other routes where many riders are dependent on public transit. Other lines include Natural Bridge, Chippewa, Rock Road, Chambers, Carondelet, Florissant, Kings Highway, I-55 Express, Halls Ferry Express, and the Eureka Express. The overcrowding can be so bad on the Grand Line that some riders waiting at the bus stops are left at the curb. Buses run late, so people are late getting to work. What's not being mentioned is all the promises made to this council and voters in 2010 when a big tax increase for Metro was on the ballot in St. Louis County. Bob Baer, the Metro CEO at the time, said a tax hike would allow Metro to, quote, restore, enhance, and expand transit service. The head of the campaign, John Nations, repeatedly said the tax hike was needed for Metro to get people to their jobs. As you know, Mr. Nations was named Metro CEO after the election, which was a terrible choice. Voters approved the tax, and Metro now gets a 100% increase in tax dollars from the county, nearly $75 million more a year. The approval also allowed Metro to collect about $8 million more from city taxpayers. A tax hike previously approved by city voters was dependent on county approval to go into effect. A year after passing the 2010 tax hike for Metro, at the May 20th, 2011 board meeting, Metro board member Richard Laborde questioned whether Metro was keeping his promise to voters. He said only 95% of the service was restored with no plans to expand. He also said many bus stops were still creating problems for disabled riders. If you recall, Metro brought many people in wheelchairs to council meetings as part of their deceptive campaign. It's now almost 3 years after the big tax hike was approved. Metro is taking in huge amounts of additional tax dollars and is still not providing adequate service for people that need public transit in both the city and the county. Voters were clearly deceived in 2010. The overcrowding also points out to the incredible amount of discrimination in transit policies. About 80% of riders on buses are minorities who depend on public transit to get to work, for shopping, and to visit family and friends. As far back as November 1997, the late Senator Jed Banks was on Liz Brown's radio program talking about poor bus service on the Grand Line. He said many of the buses were not even air-conditioned. The Grand buses are now air-conditioned, but over 15 years and many hundreds of millions of dollars later, the service is still inadequate, the same as with other lines. Of course, what happened was the bus service was bled to support MetroLink. That is still the case. What all this points out is what I have been saying for years at the council. There's a much greater need to monitor Metro and where the hundreds of millions of dollars of county tax dollars are going. You don't have to be a Harvard grad to know there are many unanswered questions about how Metro spends its funds. I would hope, Madam Chair, that you make accountability of the transit agency a priority in 2014. Thank you.
Thank you. That will conclude the public forum. We'll move to introduction of bills.
Bill number 6, introduced by Councilmember Stanger, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with James Robert Realty Investment Corporation for lease of property at 3229 Lee May Ferry Road for a South County Precinct substation. Bill number 7, introduced by Councilmember Stanger, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Donald L. Dar for lease of space at 3031 Telegraph Road for a South County Precinct substation. Madam Chair, that is all the bills.
Thank you. Perfection of bills.
Bill number 8, 2013, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Bill number 234, introduced by Councilmember Dolan.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Bill number 2, introduced by Councilmember Erby for Councilmember Burkett.
At this time, I move to perfect Bill number 2.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 2 is perfected.
Bill number 3, introduced by Councilmember Erby for Councilmember Burkett.
At this time, I move to perfect Bill number 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 3 is perfected.
Just a comment, since we have changed places, I don't know if I might take over the meeting just out of habit, so I want to warn you about that.
I tell you what, you did all year, and I've just done 2, and I'm exhausted, so. Thank you again, Kathy. And you want to take over, you can. Okay.
Bill number 4, introduced by Councilmember Erby for Councilmember Burkett.
At this time, I move to perfect Bill number 4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 4 is perfected.
Bill number 5, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
I move for perfection of bill number 5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 5 is perfected. Did you say something, Kathy?
I said I forgot that Mike had to leave.
Okay. Final passage of bills.
Bill number 181, introduced by Councilmember Burkett.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 238, introduced by Councilmembers Dolan, Stanger, and Erby. Madam Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 238, introduced by council members Dolan and Stanger, an ordinance amending Chapter 1105, Title 11, St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974 as amended, Department of Highways and Traffic, by enacting and adding thereto one new section establishing the complete streets policy.
Can I make a comment on this, Madam Chair? All right, this is sub-bill number 2 for the complete streets ordinance. We've had a lot of discussion with interested parties on this. Obviously, it's been going on for weeks and weeks. There's been some changes, obviously, that in the wording and things taken out and things added, and it's all in this new bill, which has been talked to with interested parties, including the Highway Department. I've talked to the Highway Department, and they agreed with me to send this bill, so I'm going to read it as a sub-bill tonight, and then next week we'll have a vote. It's public record, it's sub-bill number 2. Some of the misconceptions about the financing and what have you, there was never any intention to put bike paths down every county road. That was never the intent. Although in this new bill, it's stated clearly that that is not the case. So there won't be any cost more than what's in the budget to put in the roads as needed. The Highway Department has final say, how that's done. The advisory groups are there for their input, but they're not binding. They're just advisory. There are groups interdepartmental groups, the planning department, the health department, parks and recreation, also will have input with the highway department. This is not every road that's being built in St. Louis County. They'll be addressed when there are new roads or roads repaired, but if it's cost prohibitive, then they won't put a bike path. And it's not just about bike paths. This is about pedestrian use also, and of sidewalks and curb cuts, and it's not strictly a bill to put bike paths all the way through St. Louis County. It's where it's practical. The highway department will have input in that. So the money any money we spend is a concern, but it's transparent. These advisory groups will be there to also see what's going on with the money. Any of this money that's ever appropriated goes through this meeting right here, through this council. So there's public meetings every week when this money's spent. So to say that we're doing something without the public input is incorrect. We go through the process. You can come up and speak as you always have. So I hope that addresses some of the issues. I'm sure I didn't cover it all, but for now, if you have any more questions, we're available. But as I stated before, we have readdressed the issues and clarified any issues on the monetary expense of any complete streets bill. So with that, I move for adoption of substitute bill number 2 for bill number 238.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 238 is adopted.
Bill number 1, introduced by Councilmember Erby for Councilmember Burkett.
I guess we have to hold that, don't we? Please hold.
Second.
So ordered.
Bill number 324, introduced by Councilmember Burkett.
At this time, I move for final passage of bill number 324.
Second.
Roll call, please. Excuse me, I have a question about that previous one. Pat, can we hold that? I know we have to, but is that gonna?
We'll have to contact the state. I don't know, I thought that all 7 people were going to vote for that. So.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Mike's not here.
I think you have to have all, because it wasn't on the calendar long enough.
We're a week behind. Okay, where were we? I'm sorry.
I asked for final passage of bill number 324, and it was seconded.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 324, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 324 is finally passed.
Bill number 325, introduced by Councilmember Burkett.
This time I move for final passage of Bill number 325.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 325, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 325 is finally passed.
Bill number 326, introduced by Councilmember Burkett.
I move for final passage of Bill number 326.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 326, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 326 is finally passed.
Bill number 327, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for final passage of Bill number 327.
Second.
Roll call. Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 327, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 327 is finally passed.
Bill number 328, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for final passage of Bill number 328.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 328, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 328 is finally passed.
Bill number 329, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for final passage of Bill number 329.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 329, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 329 is finally passed.
Bill number 330, introduced by Councilmember Burkett.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Bill number 331, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
I move for final passage of Bill number 331.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 331, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 331 is finally passed.
Bill number 332, introduced by Councilmember Burkett.
At this time, I move for final passage of Bill number 332.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Meara? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger?
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 332, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 332 is finally passed.
Moving on to resolutions, Madam Chair, we have none this evening, so we'll move to unfinished business. Under unfinished business, item number 1, Second District.
Hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 2, Second District.
Hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 3.
Hold on the order of business, same motion through item number 5. And that will be the order.
And Madam Chair, moving on to new business, we have 2 prepared orders this evening.
Yeah, Can I make one more comment, Madam Chair? I forgot, I wanted to mention, tonight we have a special guest or scout from City of Afton, Patrick Garner, who came with his father to learn about the process. I think you might have got a little more than you were bargaining for. Hopefully it's not too late. I know the meeting started at 6 and all, but I hope it's not too late for you. I move for adoption of orders 1 and 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Orders number 1 and 2 are adopted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.